Good evening, folks. Welcome to another date on the Journalist Hangout Show. I am Citizen Jones Hussein. Now, today on the program, Court of Appeal sacks Zamfara State Governor, declares election inconclusive, upholds tribunal judgment sacking Governor Abba Yusuf of Kano State, and affirms Bala Mohammed's election as Bauchi State Governor. Now, I'm hanging out with Kolawole Johnson. KJ, I greet you. You're sporting a beard. Makes you look rugged.
Even Nigeria is changing,
okay.
So I think I should change alongside too.
Saves you money too.
Honestly, that's the truth.
Yeah. All right, we expect Ibinabo Dixon to join us as soon as she gets here. We'll bring her on. The team is ready. I hope you are. Now, our first story. For the immediate past governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Godwin Emefiele, freedom is not yet. A federal high court sitting in Abuja has given order for the former Apex Bank boss to be remanded in the Kuje Correctional Center, Abuja, until his bail request is perfected. You recall that the federal government accused Emefiele of fraudulently purchasing 43 automobiles for 1.2 billion naira between 2018 and 2020. He pleaded not guilty to the charge. The matter was adjourned to the 28th of November. KJ, freedom is not yet.
Well, unfortunately for the former CBN governor, he has to go back to
Islam.
Yeah, unfortunately. And for a man who has built, or who built, you can say in court, a very credible career before this period, it's very unfortunate. You know, he started as a lecturer in a Uniport, and I think in Unsuka thereabouts, you know, before going to the private sector. And even in the bank, you know, spent 18 good years, both in Nigeria and, you know, outside before becoming the CBN governor. So it's quite unfortunate, you know, for him to end this way. But that is what you get when the CV of a man that should be the #1 face of a, you know, of a monetary policy is bearing a politician, a banker, and an economist. Unfortunately, a man that shouldn't have anything to do with politics, that went into the game deep, even against the CBN Act. So it's so unfortunate that he finds himself, you know, in this corner. And I've heard people say, "Oh, let the rule of law prevail." Of course, we expect that, you know, in all of the time, you know, for that to be the grand norm, the standard for, you know, for what we do, for what you do in a democratic setting.
Yeah.
But again, if you look at 2023, you know, what he plunged the nation into, the number of businesses, you know, that packed up, and the number of people who probably would never recover again from the shock, and, you know, those political policy that is still haunting the nation till now. It's so unfortunate that you know.
Can you accept that there's an extension to that logic?
Yeah.
When you say, but he reported to the #1.
Well, the CBN. See, you have a #1 who I have said in different fora. I don't always want to analyze the Buhari's government, and that's the truth. But for a #1 who don't have, he did not really have the definite KPIs to measure performance of any of his appointees. You know, I remember at a time like that when he came back to the country from a trip, and he saw his the police chief, the then the IG of the Nigerian police, and he said, "Oh, they are complaining that you are not performing, but you are not adding weight." So for him, and, you know, an office holder is not adding weight. You know, it simply means that he's performing. So what are the KPIs? So what are his, unfortunately, and he was also a man.
No, he himself never added weight.
No, see, if you look at his own style of leadership. I think he embraced the laissez-faire style of leadership where you delegate absolutely. You don't even care, what they do. In his own time.
You don't kick and follow.
Yes, the power, lies solely with those he appointed, not even with him, They weren't even sharing responsibility. It was largely on them, and so much that he told his appointees that you don't have to come to me, go to the chief of staff. So many of these guys were not even reporting to him. There were middlemen in between them. And don't forget that we had a government, that ran, a very terrible feudalistic system that some folks sit outside the government.
Your words.
Of course, please, my words. I mean,
okay.
I can defend that. Some folks sit outside the government or even inside the government and they appoint people. And those ones are loyal largely to them, not even to the nation, not even to Mr. President, but to those guys who appointed them into those offices. And it is what they want that they drive per time. And for a man that wanted a political position, of course, he was throwing everything, to the wind just to ensure that he thought he would get the ticket of the party, and be the flag bearer, unfortunately, and he was ready to do anything to end that. So for him, he was a man who is, of course, who has the experience to be a good, banker at that place, the banker of banker, but unfortunately, he was beclouded by the fact that he needed to play politics again, for...
I think I'm beginning to understand the saying that at the top, you are alone, you stand alone.
No, see, you are not...
When you get there, you are alone.
Well, at this stage, at this level, I mean, or in this kind of setting, you're hardly alone. There are people with you. It is what those people want. Again, but now that the chips are down, of course, he's alone. But when he was taking those decisions, he was not alone. You can take it because, those decisions were not for him. He was only playing to the gallery of folks. Yeah.
Kolawole, we are not alone now. We are joined by the vivacious...
delectable.
Oh, delectable is the word.
You said so.
Okay. Even about Dixon. Greetings. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
You braved it, regardless.
Thank you.
Yeah. We're talking about the immediate past boss of the Apex Bank.
Okay. A very funny one. For me, I think every political appointee or anyone holding,
sensitive position.
Yes, be mindful of what to do. Because nemesis is waiting. When you're out of that office, it will catch up with you. Because, who would have thought that? I don't think this ever happened to any central bank governor.
Yeah.
Not in living memory.
Yes. Yeah. So for a man of that caliber, somebody who was the central bank governor, now being tossed up and down, EFCC is dragging him, DSS is waiting, the court is, thinking about granting him bail and all of that. It's unfortunate. But then again, I would say that whatever you do is waiting for you. Every good you do, it's easier for people to forget. But when you do bad, people will forever remember what you did. We can't forget in a hurry how we suffered during the cash crunch era. It was a terrible time.
That's if the crunch is really truly over.
At least now I can walk into the bank and demand for my money.
Okay.
You understand? But then we couldn't do that.
For me, I was becoming, I was losing touch with the use of the ATM.
And even now, you walk, see, that's another story entirely.
But again, that he's accused, amongst other things, of having bought about 43 automobiles for 1.2 billion naira. I remember a former central bank governor who became governor of the old Cross River State. But this was after he left office. If you see what I mean.
I do. When, like I said earlier, when people are in a particular office, a very high office, because they feel they are so powerful, they can do and undo, and nothing is going to happen. I know Nigeria being a country where we don't really have very strong deterrents in place. You hear people, today they are arrested, tomorrow you don't get to hear the concluding part of the story. So probably, you know, I think this case of Emefiele should serve as a huge deterrent.
All right. The next date
will it actually serve as a deterrent? You know, I strongly doubt it. You have a system that a lot of times, you know, play politics with even criminality. In our political system, some things are swept under the carpet, not necessarily because they shouldn't be, you know, prosecuted or that they shouldn't be handled, but politics would always come to play, even in trials. Of course, we know that the trial is also political. It is just that you look at the fact that you weigh the option. Of course, he has also done so much more. But I doubt if they will even be very serious to prosecute him on the fact on ground. This is a fact. I know if they search deeper, there are things they will get, but I'll be connected with quite a number of people that they may not want to pull. So the one that will be a semblance of, okay, what can we hang him on? You just try to, you know, stay on that. But if they really want to prosecute him, of course, they will have much. It's not about that 1.2 billion. I think it was the fact that the man played politics. He's only suffering because he played politics, not because of those, you know, things you say. For me, you know, my judgment anyway.
Okay, we have to wait for another 10, 11 days, November 28th, to hear what's happening with him. Of course, remember the fight is about his bail.
Grandpa, just leave that.
Make her not go there.
Leave that.
Okay, to our next story. You know, for Nigeria, the spate of borrowing must be scaled down. And again, for the Minister of Finance, Wale Edu, the best way Nigeria could fund its budget is to spend more money on infrastructure to generate more revenue. Appearing before a joint Senate committee on the 2024-26 medium-term expenditure framework, Mr. Edu said, quote him, "Clearly, we have now intentionally as well as nationally, we are in no position to rely on borrowing." He went on, quote, "Our direction of tariff is to reduce the quantum of borrowing or intercept deficit financing in the 2024 budget." We're getting someplace, would you say?
We have, I mean, when people in these high offices come out to make statements, you know, you want to swallow with a pinch of salt. Because at the end of the day, this is not the first time we hear this. We have heard it severally, and what happened eventually? Nothing. So I hope that this time around they're going to match action with their words. Because how long are we going to keep, you know, borrowing to take care of our expenditures? It is, I mean, it doesn't make any sense. And some people will come out and tell you that Nigeria is not the only country owing. There are other countries owing. But if you go into these countries, you see what they have been able to do with the monies that they have borrowed here and there. But in, like, what do you see in Nigeria? All our infrastructures, which one do you say that is so fantastic? We are just managing ourselves here and there. So at the end of the day, what I see here is a statement, and I wait for action, because we are really owing, and we are owing so much that it is becoming very scary. Someone said, if you want to break down the amount of money we are owing, it's like a Nigerian is owing about 400,000 naira, and that is scary.
400,000 naira.
Well, if it's about what each Nigerians, you know, is owing, we may just, you know, perhaps not be worried so much. I think it is much more than that. On this same show, I think last year or thereabouts, I was analyzing the post-Buhari administration, and I did say that it would be tough for whoever was coming in, and I reeled those figures. I think it was the second quarter or the third quarter of 2022. That was when the Debt Management Office of the Nigerian Bureau or the Nigerian Statistics staff said that we spent more than 100% of revenue to service debt. Nigeria made 1.6 trillion naira in the first quarter of that year, but we spent 1.9 trillion to service debt. So, of course, more than 100%. And the year cumulatively, we spent about 96% of our revenue to service debt. You can't continue under that regime. Something must change. They have told us that though it's not about the debt, that the ratio of our GDP to the debt to GDP ratio is not, that it's still fair. But we're not looking at the revenue to GDP ratio. To debt ratio. It's low. For the size of Nigeria and the size of our economy, it is low. So when you continue to allow all of the shenanigans you have in the system and relying solely on borrowing, of course, you keep asking questions. Is it that we can look into the system to do the needful? So there are two ways of keeping a healthy balance sheet. The first is to reduce your expenses. That will automatically make money available. Secondly, is to increase your income. In reducing your expenses, it is not, a one-traffic approach, because the same government who is saying that we can't keep relying on borrowing. We've gotten to almost to the dead end. You still see, they said we need to, sacrifice someone. We agree. But a sacrifice that is bearing, a dualist face cannot work, because what you have now is dualism. I'll explain. You have two contradicting reality in the same space, where the government is living in luxury and they want the people to sacrifice. You can't cook a reform home like that. If you want to reform, see, I think it was in communication that the Aristotle was the rhetorical triangle, theorem told us about the pathos, the ethos, and co. Before you tell the people to sacrifice, you must also be standing in that stead. You can't have 48 ministry over bloated. Ministry of Youth and Sport, for example, used to be manned by just one person. It's now 3 persons. Ministry of, you have the Minister of Youth, you have the Minister of State for Youth, you have the Minister of Sport. What are they doing? And you say we need to save?
They are doing government work.
Okay, I have heard you. And you say we need to save. You have the National Assembly that by the end of this fiscal year, we might have spent like maybe 3 trillion on them in this, democratic experiment. Yet you have them buying 160 million naira vehicle each. And you want the people to sacrifice. And you are saying that we need to shore up our revenue when you are not reducing the expenses on waste. So the people are only the one bearing the brunt, not those in government. I agree with the reform on ground. In fact, I've been an advocate of this, whether fuel subsidy removal or other reforms. I agree. In fact, this is what I've been advocating for long. However, you can't have it on one leg. We must have the reform on 2 legs. Right now, it's only on 1 leg. The government wants us to reform, but the people to pay the sacrifices, but not those in government. You can't have this dualism in place, and you want to preach to the people, because what you are saying now, you can't borrow. You need to drive revenue. That will affect the people. Those who are already impoverished, you want to tax them some more. Those who are already, because the government can't even spend so much more again, in the system. You can't. We can't afford that money. The money is not there for us. Yet our budget has grown from about 299 billion in 1999 to maybe 20 trillion naira now, and we need to fund it. We can't, we can't leave the deficit gap each year, and you think you will make progress as a nation. How much are we spending on our critical infrastructure? So,
KJ, I've heard experts say over time we had been dealing with a deficit budget, but there's no way of shoring up our revenue base.
Yeah.
We must go back to aggressive production. It is possible.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Of course, this production you are saying, we are not even having enough. Imagine, unemployment rose from 9% in 2015 to about 33% in 2020. And so your productive population, they are not doing anything.
Yeah.
And if you must stimulate production, it goes beyond policy. You must see, aside from the infrastructure you will put in place to drive it, you may be the first, you may need to put the first seat, the first, seed capital. You will drive it. Yeah. It is true that you will rely on those foreign investment to come in. And if you look at the past years too, we've even gotten more money from remittance, than a direct investment. Look at last year, I think we got just about $5 billion or so, but in remittance alone, I think we have over $20 billion. Yeah. So for me, I think it's not just one way approach. We must drive production, but not with one, it is from different, fortunately, I think the government has some very good hands, those who can drive it for us. But I'm saying that we must also ensure that we don't keep this heat on the side of the people. Yeah. It must also be on the side of those in government.
All right. We have a Sunday from Ndokwa East. Ndokwa is in Delta State, joining us. Sunday, how are you?
Very fine, sir.
Yes, Sunday. It's a Friday. Let's hear you.
Okay. I was trying to bring up the issue regarding to what my brother there is saying. Regarding the issue of the debt and deficit in Nigeria. Now, I want to bring the notice to something. You made mention of the cars that are being bought for the House of Reps and Senate. And they are trying to ensure that the masses sacrifice for the economy to grow up and meet up the standards as stated. It can't work that way if the so-called leaders do not, from their end, sacrifice sincerely from the bottom of the heart. You don't expect somebody to have $1 billion in his account, and you're asking somebody who earns at least 20,000 or 50,000 a day to come and sacrifice and make taxes. So you have billions in your account, and you are not even making taxes as per se.
Thank you, Sunday. So, thank you, Sunday. We thank you for your contribution. Even about when KJ was talking, he sounded like a man who was looking for a job. He already knows the answer. But the finance minister...
Are you sure I don't... Are you sure?
No, I'm sorry.
I hope you won't put chains in my hands.
No, hold on. I hope I'm not thinking for you.
See, the government has enough hands. Believe me, honestly. Sound minds. Believe me, sound minds.
No,
there are those who labor for their party. So please, they should, they should have their job.
No pun is intended. No pun is intended.
No problem.
When you go a borrowing, I hear you go a sorrowing, because the man on the street keeps hearing borrowing, trillions, billions, and all that, and he asks himself, until when? But the minister is saying, no, this time we're not borrowing for 2024 budget and beyond. You think we can sustain it?
Citizen, what is worrisome is you want to come up with a policy. What have you put in place? Where are the buffers? Because at the end of the day, you're going to push all of the burden on the people. So when you say that the economy that has always been, sponsored with borrowed money, now you don't want to borrow again. So what are your plans? What have you put in place? Because in going through the story, I read a part where the chairman Senate committee, Senator Sani Musa, said that currently there are lots of leakages in the use of government resources. Now I'm going back to the ministries. That they're not actually remitting all that
should be remitted.
So if we begin to look inwards...
And nobody is punished.
Nobody is punished. He even mentioned the Nigerian customs, that there are so many waivers. So who issued these waivers? People are doing, my friend, your friend, cronyism and all of that.
Under the counter deal.
Exactly. And people are out there suffering. So at the end of the day, you ask yourself, okay, so all of these policies that you are thinking of pushing back to the people, where is your own place here? Like he said, why is it difficult for Nigerian government to cut down on expenses of governance. Why? I could recall Festus Keyamo, he was once the Minister of State for a particular ministry with the past. Yes.
Labor and productivity.
And after which, he came out to condemn it, that there was actually no point in having a Minister for State. Because, I mean, the minister, the real minister, like I feel that is the main minister, already could take care of things. Now, when we don't just have Minister of State, we have other ministers in one ministry. So these are the leakages. And you're not even looking at, tying these loose ends. Because until we begin to do that, we can't get anywhere. It's not enough coming out to, say a thing or two. How are you going to go about it? It's very imperative.
So, all right, just a minute. Adebo Ali is joining us from Lagos here. Debo, I greet you. Welcome.
Hello.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes,
Yeah.
I've listened to your comments. Well, one point I want to mention is that each time I listen to our analysis, the bigger problem is not for the federal government. They have the money, right? But the bigger problem is not on the federal government. The bigger problem are in the states. Take, for instance, the vehicles we are talking about, the bus vehicles. Go to the states, see the governors, see how they wasted all the money. Now you can see that President Tinubu is going around to be able to speak to investors and all that. But if you have been involved with ministries, you see that most of these problems are in the states. You get to the state, you bring a project, they destroy it. I hope that is not going to be done. But my point itself is that we are not really looking at the state. Perhaps I can show this one thing now. You find that we have a lot of problems with food.
Thank you. Debo, thank you very kindly. Have a rejoinder to it?
No,
okay.
Fantastic. Yeah. I think I said it like I said 2 weeks ago.
He has said it. Too much emphasis on the center.
See, here is it. It appears that in Nigeria, we felt the nation is about the federal government alone. That we focus so much on the federal government that we forget that the state are the units that make up the, However, you lead by example. If in 2015, I think, I'm not too sure of this figure, our debt servicing to revenue ratio rose from 29% or so to 96%. That is on the part of the FG, not the state. And the person who talked that we are addressing is the Minister of Finance, not the state, Commissioner of Finance. Then 3, if the federal government leads by example, others would definitely follow. And you can come up with a work plan, policy, the same way that we came up that the government is trying to, give the states more money. You can also come up with like a work plan, like a policy that would be a guide to the state on how to drive the country out of this, quagmire. Because truly things are tough. And it is not the fault of this government that things are tough. Let me make that very clear. We didn't get here today. We got here gradually. When we were making more money from oil and we were spending all and even borrowing. Now, we didn't know that we'll get to this place. When we were setting the FX we have not earned ahead. We shall get here. When our oil production fell below 1 million barrels per day. Yeah. Truly, we'll get here. But I'm saying that we are here now.
We must make some money now.
And the government must do enough. Thank you.
We must go on a commercial break. That's what we're doing next. And please, you want to stay with us. We'll be back shortly.
In today's world, our lifestyle, both at work and at play, depends on connectivity. Our connectivity depends on the devices that make it possible, and these devices depend on electric power. When power fails, our our life shrinks, our work drops, and our joy dips. JRB Solar Energy Systems are here to ensure that we enjoy uninterruptible power, uninterruptible joy. Whether you're running a business, an institution, or just a home you return daily to rest, JRB has got you covered. No project is too big for our super digital inverters, long-lasting batteries, and efficient solar panels. Go. Dream on. Change your world. JRB Solar Inverters, batteries, solar panels, solar streetlights, and more. Telephone 0906 752 1111. Email sales@jrbsolar.com. With JRB, the sun's gonna shine on everything you do.
Okay, welcome back. Let's take the point home. Federal government, through the Minister of Finance, says no more borrowing for, quote, the 2024 budget.
Well, unfortunately, we cannot escape borrowing next year. That's the truth. Let's not deceive ourselves. But I think what he's saying is that they want to try as much as possible to reduce it, which I support, in fact, which is the right way to go. Because you can't survive on this net when you're spending 96-98% of your revenue on debt servicing. I mean, of course, there's no money left for capital project except you also borrow to do that.
But
right now, we don't have that. We are still doing that. So there will be no magic to translate us suddenly, to that point where you will create that surplus that you'll spend on infrastructure. And be very sure that this government is ambitious about driving critical infrastructure, and that will involve money. And there's no way we will get that,
without borrowing some more,
without having revenue. And right now, we don't have that revenue base. Of course, I know that by next year we'll have some tax policy that will bring more persons into the tax net. Then too, we'll be able to drive the MDAs to be very sure that let's create the account. Don't spend at all from what you generate. Pay it in first. The government can get to pay you your portion back. You can't be the one generating and still spending at the same time. Yeah. Number 3, let us drive security. See, the biggest problem I see, it's not even the Boko Haram. It is the economic insecurity. You have Nigeria, the nation is losing revenue around the oil pipelines. We're losing revenue in solid minerals up north. Let's try to see how to block those loopholes so that we can drive oil production per day to maybe at least $2 million. To 2 million barrels per day, so that we can earn more forex. The pressure you have now on the forex is just the scarcity. When you don't have equilibrium in demand and supply, of course, you have a shift. That is the issue now. Then 4, we must also ensure that we reduce the waste in governance. That's it. You will save a lot of money from there. If you can also go a step further to try to block the loopholes in illicit fund movement out of the country, I'm sure we will have, of course, some substantial amount of money to fund our budget. We won't be running this deficit, style of.
And even about to drive this home, we must go back to the land, agriculture.
Yes.
We can make money from it.
We can make money.
It's not overnight.
In addition to what he said, you see, sadly, our leaders are very much aware of all that he has said. They know. Because people have said this over and over. It's all about what do you do with what you've been told. All the various advisors, they all cannot be dullards. These are intelligent people. These are professionals. So when you are being advised on how to go about the economy, how to revamp the economy, do you take this advice or you just take the ones that are going to be of benefit to you and you yank off the rest?
I heard something new the other day. KJ, let me share it with you. Common sense is not a gift but a punishment because you are having to deal with people who don't have it. and this is the time that was...
Unfortunately, maybe if we are discussing something around the population who may not likely agree with the government on anything at all they say, perhaps that will come into play because you have a population today, they don't want to hear.
Do you blame that population? You don't.
Well, it's a product of the system we have,
Yeah.
that we have driven for years. The educational system we have in this country. If we don't change it, Nigeria is going nowhere. This idea of everything is about certificate, that a man can go to school to buy it, because that is what you're asking for. And unfortunately, he goes to buy, he's the first to get the job because he has his way around.
That's it.
And the brilliant boy or girl who comes out of school with his merit, it's even riding Okada with his second class
Because
offer.
you have made the country largely certificated.
If we don't
So
change that approach,
All right.
you know,
Ibn Abu, ours is to form the opinion. Let the decision makers make use of them. Okay, then to our next story. You know, these are not the best of times for governments of Zamfara, Kano, and Bauchi states. In Zamfara state, for example, polls in 3 local government areas have been ordered retaken. The governorship election there was declared inconclusive by the Court of Appeal. For Kano State, the Court of Appeal upheld the sacking of Governor Abba Yusuf. His fielding was in breach of the electoral law. And what about Bauchi? Bala Mohammed's election as governor there was okayed by the appellate court in Abuja. You win some, you lose some. But first, let's take some reactions from the governorship candidate of the APC there in Kano State.
And according to the Constitution, you have to belong to a political party. You have to be sponsored by a political party before you contest an election. So the Court of Appeal has ruled that he was not a member. Therefore, the issue of even counting vote did not even arise because he was not supposed to be a rightful candidate. And also the votes that they have rigged were fished out during the tribunal, and then they were declared null and void. So the Court of Appeal has also upheld that particular decision of the lower court. So all that has to be said about the judgment and what have you, our leader has already mentioned it. My main concern now is the expectation of people of Kano State, on myself. The expectation of those that have the belief in me, particularly the national chairman, whom I serve as the deputy governor, and he find me worthy.
All right. Konaso, in 2023,
yeah.
we're still handing over the baton to the judiciary in determining outcome of elections. So when the 16th President of America, Abraham Lincoln, said the ballot is stronger than a bullet, he was talking about the sanctity of the ballot box, but that's not there anymore.
Are you sure it's not there?
Okay, are you asking or telling me?
Well, I think our democracy is evolving, and we'll grow beyond all of these at some point. And at some point, there is nothing you do, it doesn't count. After you must have voted, some folks will go to the place, they take the box and they just go to a room and they make the announcement of whoever they most prefer. And it got to a point that they started buying votes, knowing well that vote counts. If the vote is not counting, they won't be offering 10,000 per vote, 20,000 in some places. Where we are now is the fact that you have politicians who always will be looking for ways to circumvent the process put in place. And since you can't leave the game to them, else the poor will suffer. We now have the judiciary in place, and of course, that is what the judiciary should even be doing in the first instance. So you know that if you don't get...
So has it become a way of life here?
See, it is evolving. That is the stage we are now. We'll still get beyond the stage, but there is no time. You won't have the courts getting involved in the electoral process. The only difference is that the volume will reduce, as time as we,
Maybe you are one of those who tell me that America, we have to wait like America, 230 years.
We may not have to wait, that much. See, I don't know how to strike home some points, but I'd like us to understand that the environment is a determinant of whatever you see in the system, whether your leadership or the outcomes of your social, political phenomenon. It is on the environment. Today, look at your religious center. Where I'm coming.
Just a minute.
Yes.
Do we deserve what we have today?
Okay, what else do you deserve? Based on this system, this same system that you have in place, this same population that you have in place, this same psyche that you have. Okay, tell me any sector, tell me any other social structure that you think is free from corruption, that you think is, that is having the right value to drive the system. That is what you have across. And we will have to grow beyond these. See, in those days, when you have your villages rejecting people that come into town with money untold, with money when they can't explain where they get it from, the days are gone. Today you bring the money, you will sit in front of the religious houses. In fact, they will shout your name multiple times. In fact, your town, your village will give you chieftaincy title. So the value system is broken, and we'll have to rebuild again. It's a circle. The cyclical theory say that, of course, you have to go around again. You will get there. It will get better. But let's get back to the judiciary. Okay. Now, they've been part of the process. If they are not part of the process, perhaps you will have something else on the street. Maybe you will have people fighting day and night. The reason many supporters of politicians are not on the street fighting is because the judiciary is there to provide the hope. That is why we must encourage the judiciary to stand on the truth. I listened to the last justice of the Supreme Court that retired. Go through the things he said. You understand the fact that the judiciary needs to rebuild itself, rebirth itself to ensure that they truly stand as the last hope of the common man. But you can't take them away from the system, whether the electoral system or the customary system or the social system. They are part of the system.
Ibn Aboso, the ballot box is just a signpost.
So it seems.
For the moment.
So we have made it to be. But you see, the problem we have is a Nigerian problem. We have a situation whereby corruption is systemic. Values shape a human being. And when you have lost that value, you become shapeless. For now, we are shapeless. And until we begin to, go back to the days of values, until we begin to look for where did we drop these values that we used to have. We are still going to be talking about this over and over. You talk about the judiciary. Who are there? Who are the people there? They're Nigerians. You talk about INEC. Who are the people there? They're Nigerians. And we live in a country where people believe that you can pay your way through anything, any situation, any circumstance. So as long as we live in a country like this, where anybody can come out and do and undo, we will keep having these issues. Now, what my pain here is, so much was, invested in INEC. And they made so much promises. And I'm looking at it because if INEC had performed, we would have had less of all of this.
Oh, yeah.
But
yes.
Are you saying INEC is alone in this mess, in this morass?
We are all in it together.
Because the INEC becomes the whipping boy at a time like this.
But somebody has to take responsibility. INEC is the umpire of election.
The politician will not take responsibility, Binabo.
If you allow yourself to be bamboozled by the politician, then you have to bear the brunt. You have to, taking all of the, whatever they are holding at you, but take it. Because there is a reason for having INEC in place. you are supposed to oversee all our elections. And they didn't bring people from other countries. These are Nigerians. They understand how we operate. And they have promised that okay, I know you, I know where you're going to come at me from, and I'm ready. So how ready are they?
All right. What should INEC do going forward from here?
It is not even about INEC. What should the government do? If the government will have the balls to do the right thing.
Okay.
We need to restructure INEC. Of course, I will always advocate for structural reform in a defective system, and INEC is one. You need a structural reform. Now, the leadership recruitment process of that body must change. As long as politicians would nominate their own loyalists to go to INEC, you don't expect those people to be loyal to the people. They will only be loyal to those, they will show loyalty largely to those who put them there. That is how the system works all over. And so, for me, I think we must ensure that we have a total overhaul of INEC. And in this game, we keep thinking INEC will also just become the next holy thing in town. It will not happen. It will not happen. See, the people you appoint in different positions, don't look at INEC alone. Look at the structure you have across board. Look at the police, look at the judiciary, even look at the system we have. The people who still come, those you appoint will come from this same system. But I still believe that there are some you will see that will at least have the 80-20 Pareto, game. You can give 80 to the people, give 20 to service the system. If we run that, things will be far, far better. But you will not expect, a body that will be totally free of such. Of course, you can't get that in place right now in Nigeria. But we can get INEC to be better if we run a structural reform to ensure that the leadership recruitment process is better than what you have now. Then I think, too, we must put in place the right laws. Right now, the politician can also, they get their way through, not necessarily because that at times that they should, but because they know that the system, there is no, we don't have a system that will enforce the law. If you do this, this is what you get. If you do this and you are caught, this is what you get. So we must also strengthen our laws to ensure that you don't do some things that we consider unlawful and you go scot-free without any punishment.
Is there anything the lead could do? We always talk about the politician. What about the lead?
Well, if you live in a country like Nigeria where the economy is so terrible, people are hungry, it is easy for you to buy.
Hunger is what has put us here?
Poverty is one.
Poverty is one of them. And also,
Poverty is what has put our political system in this mess?
No, it is one of them.
You are talking about the people. How easy would it be for you to walk up to, as I was coming down here on the highway, I saw, I think it should be a man, lying down by the walkway on the highway, sleeping.
Was he sleeping?
I think the way it seemed as if he was sleeping.
Okay.
Now, such a man, you go to him and tell him, I will give you 2,000 naira. Come and vote for me. He wouldn't even think. He won't even think twice. So the problem is very enormous. But you know what I'm thinking? I'm digressing now. You see, because I've been thinking that it is only fair that when somebody puts you in an office, you become a loyalist to that person. So okay. How do we get it right? If we can come up with a system whereby all of the stakeholders of these parties would come together and then form a committee and appoint people into INEC.
In SA, for example, I think the judicial system, they have a system in place where the opposition also nominates into the system. But what she just said about poverty, it is real. I'll give you an example. It was an election.
I wanted us to go state by state,
okay.
Vis-a-vis the government. So okay. Let's even start from Kano.
Okay.
Are you surprised by what happened in Kano?
See, I don't want to make some pronouncement regarding Kano until the Supreme Court. See, you have
okay.
Let me not make
the thing will go up there.
Of course, it's going up there. So I think so. I think it ends at the Supreme Court. Yes,
Governorship.
Or the governorship.
Only
Yes,
senatorial, this thing
yes,
ends
of
at the
that.
appeal.
So
Yeah.
let's wait for that, because see, Kano has a very peculiar history that, for me, I want to be very careful on. We share some responsibility in the public space. What we say a lot of times, count. Don't think they don't count. So I want to be very responsible with my words. So I want to keep some of my opinions on Kano for now, until the final stage. But if we move to Zamfara, this Zamfara, what exactly will change? Let's assume that Supreme Court, also follows the path. If you look at the numbers, 377,000 for Lawal, and 311,000 for Matawale.
Yeah.
Now, these three local governments, the total vote there for PDP was about 58,000. The total vote, they won 2 of the local government, they lost 1, while APC won 1 of the 3 and lost 2. Now, if you calculate the total number of votes for APC, I think is about 32,000. So deduct what they have each. You will still have a margin of maybe something in the range of 40,000. Now, what is the total number of PVC collected in these areas? If they go into the runoff, and you will have a speaker, a PDP member in place that will emerge as the acting governor, that will superintend over that election. Of course, I'm not taking away the fact that you have a Matawale, who is a sitting minister of state for defense, who likely wield some powers there. He also complained that they used the military against him during the election. But I doubt if it would be easy to cover this distance and upstage the sitting governor. Something happened in Kano 2019 when they had a runoff, but the distance was not much. And you had the governor himself on the seat driving the process. He moved tractors to those places to construct roads, and he did so much in those few days. But are we going to have such in Zamfara now, as it were? I strongly doubt it. But let's also wait, to the final pronouncement of the court on this case.
Let me quickly take you back to Kano. The fielding of Abba Yusuf, we're told, was a breach of the electoral law. Are you saying the people who fielded him never knew this, or couldn't have been bothered?
This is part
Or
of...
is it the way of politicians?
This is what we do. In our politics, we go ahead and break rules. We have our rule book, but we will choose to break these rules, believing that nothing is going to happen. Now, why now? What I'm seeing here is that there must have been a lot of issues concerning internal democracy in the party, because there would have been some other people or other party members who would want to represent the party, and then somebody just came and imposed another person who wasn't actually a member of that party. So the party itself has internal problem. So I just hope that they are able to resolve all of this.
I think that's a very peculiar case. Now, each time Kwakwansia movement moves to a new place, they take over, they have the number. NNPP was nowhere before the Kwakwansia movement moved into that party. So it was, of course, ipso facto. They just own the party as soon as they moved. So for them, bringing Abba Yusuf, if the Kwakwansia movement agrees that is the one, of course. And he stood for them also in 2019. So for me, it's not about the NNPP per se structure that they imposed, because where were they in Kano before before they moved? The man moved into PDP to prove that he's strong. He moved into PDP then from APC, and he nearly defeated the sitting government. They deployed everything to take him out. If he won the first election, it was on the runoff that they took him out. And so he moved again from PDP to NNPP to show that he's strong. And he took the stage, and give it to him or not, the fact that he fought against the sitting government, both at the federal and state, and of course, in court defeated until the final pronouncement, though. He tried. However, I still say that I want to reserve some commentaries on Kano until the final pronouncement.
Okay, so we'll wait. Except that Ibinabo and Kolawole, I'm troubled because our politicians are Machiavellian. win by every and any means.
It is what, when it is not in their favor, it is wrong. When it's, I was talking somewhere. A man said, sorry, just a few seconds.
Yeah.
A man said INEC should have disqualified a person. This is the same man that went to court to fight years back, that INEC has no right to disqualify him.
All right, we must go. Let me thank Kolawole Johnson for coming.
Thank you, Grandpa. Thank you.
Ibn Abo, many thanks too.
Thank you.
That's our show for this Friday and for the week. Of course, don't forget that on Sunday, we'll expand the field for you from 1:30. But if you missed any part of this particular show, join us later tonight at 11 p.m. And our show is also on YouTube, on youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Citizen Jones Hussein. Bye-bye now. Take care.
Following is a paid presentation by ShopX TV. Do you struggle with having an active and healthy lifestyle due to your busy schedule? Do you find it difficult to make it to the gym? You want to improve your overall health, but don't know where and how to start? Medical experts agree that walking, running, and jogging are amongst the best ways to stay fit and enjoy a great active and healthy lifestyle. What if there was a convenient and affordable way to improve your health, improve your mood, and lose weight right in your own home? Introducing the SportX Digital Compact Treadmill, the compact foldable treadmill that makes being active and losing weight fast and easy. Just unfold it and walk, jog, or run while you watch your favorite programs on TV. And when you're done, just fold it and store it away. Now that's convenience. The secret is its advanced design that houses a 1-horsepower motor that is twice the size of most treadmills, packed into a nice compact unit, powering every step you take. You get the SportX Digital Compact Treadmill System complete with a rugged commercial-grade ultra-durable traction belt, large LCD multifunctional display that displays speed, time, distance, calories, and has 12 different exercise programs, as well as a magnetic safety key for added security.
The SportX treadmill has really helped me get back in shape after childbirth. I love it because it's compact and can fit anywhere in the house. And when I'm done, I fold and put it away. Easy peasy.
This is the best piece of equipment for people like me who want to stay active without leaving the home. I simply unfold it and use it while I watch my favorite program on TV.
Joining the gym can cost an absolute fortune, and you could be paying up to 600,000 naira in annual gym fees. Get the SportX treadmill to save the cost and work out from the convenience of your home. You could pay 500,000 naira for a treadmill like this, but you can get the SportX treadmill for not 400,000 naira, not even 300,000 naira. Order right now.